And back live now in Istanbul as we cover this war with Iran on a number of different fronts. We'll watch the White House. Miami native Alex Rodriguez there having a conversation with Scott Bessent. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, is also hand in hand. The president honoring the Miami soccer team. But with all that's going on with his administration, the firing of Kristi Noem today, and, of course, the war, we'll monitor that and waiting for the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, and the CENTCOM briefing as well. You know, Israel and the U.S. are gearing up for a weeks-long military campaign in Iran. That's what we've been told. The objective, they say, to destroy Iran's military infrastructure, dismantle Iran's Revolutionary Guard, and that's a force that's long protected the Islamic Republic. Let's talk about what's going on now with Michael Oren. Michael's the former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., and like our own Robert Sherman, is in Tel Aviv tonight. We were just talking to our correspondent there, Michael, so let me just start with what's going on tonight. If he saw the sirens, and, I know that's been a nightly occurrence, but what's the update on your end? Did you take shelter? Or?
Yeah, good to be with you, Colin. Yeah, about 10 minutes ago, we had back-to-back sirens, which is kind of rare. And it's rare, we just haven't had that type of, really just one after another. But not that we've had a significant drop in the total number of sirens over the last 24 hours. Closer to the weekend, we were getting maybe about 30 a day. Now it's down to about 7 or 8. And the Israeli army is saying that this is because Israeli jets have succeeded in locating the launchers, destroying the launchers, and even destroying some of those underground tunnels, what they call the missile cities in Iran, which are significantly underground and very difficult to reach, even by the heaviest of bombs.
Secretary Rubio, another Florida guy, a lighter event as he's arriving at the White House than what he's been dealing with lately. I did want to have a conversation here, Michael, about the war more broadly, right? And these talks in recent days and conversations people have been having about the role Israel played in getting the U.S. in, as some have suggested, to the war. This conversation that's been reported between Netanyahu and Trump, where the prime minister supposedly has said to the president, hey, I know where the Ayatollah is going to be on a Saturday, and the president then greenlights the operation. What would you say about the objectives and the working together with these two countries versus how much of a role maybe Israel had in pushing the United States in? Is that unfair?
I don't think it's just accurate. It's not unfair. I don't think Israel pushed anybody. The basic fact was this. Iran was creating these missile arsenals. Now, each one of these missiles, as your reporter will tell you, and as you know, anybody in Tel Aviv will tell you, these aren't firecrackers. These are missiles that take down not an entire apartment, but a neighborhood. It's about a ton of explosives. And Iran was building up an arsenal of thousands of these missiles. Once it had reached a critical mass of these missiles, Israel would not be able to stop Iran from creating a nuclear weapon or for supporting terrorists around the region. So Israel was always going to act. And when Israel acted, the United States Israel knew that Iran would attack American forces in reprisal. So it wasn't Israel it was pushing, it was Iran pushing. And there was a question of when this was going to happen. According to Israeli sources, Israel wanted to move as early as last November and began coordinating with the United States. But what happened was by January, there were thousands and thousands of people coming out into the street in Iran protesting and getting shot by the regime. And that pushed up the schedule significantly. So that's the background to that story. Right. No one's pushing anybody. It's Iran pushing both the United States and the state of Israel. The United States and Israel, on the logistic level, on the strategic level, on the implementation level, are closer in lockstep than any time before. And I've had many years of experience with the U.S.'s relationship. It's always been intensely close. It's never come anything as close as this. There's never been a joint military operation at this level. There's never been American military assets based on Israeli soil in this way, including the F-22 jet. I'm sitting in South Tel Aviv, and the planes that come into the airport pretty much go over my house. And today I just watched an unbroken stream of American Air Force planes bringing in equipment, bringing in ordnance to our airport. It was an extraordinary sight to see. I mean, there it was, right in the sky. So that's amazing. Now the question is the goals and how long the war can go on. So, Secretary Hegseth is saying it can go on 4 or 5 weeks. our military is saying 1 or 2 weeks. You should know, a little closer. And then the goals. And I think both the United States and Israel realize that the goal of regime change is more or less aspirational. It's really up to the people of Iran to do that. But there are three main goals. It's to get Iran never again to try to make a nuclear weapon, to stop making these ballistic missiles that can take down a neighborhood, and to stop promoting terror that is trying to destroy us and to destroy our neighbors.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say or use the term aspirational when we talk about regime change, even from Israel's point of view, because I was curious and was going to ask you that if the United States were to pause or even stop the bombing with the current regime in power, would Israel continue on its own?
It's a question I'm asked all the time on Israeli news, and I'll give you the answer I give to them, is that this is a discussion that Israeli leaders have to have with their American counterparts, and saying, listen, we may have a little bit of a different goal. We need to get rid of those missiles. We need, X number more days of fighting. And it's not the first time that has happened in Israeli history, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But right now, I take a lot of hope, I derive a lot of confidence from the fact that the United States is giving Israel a completely green light in countering the threat from Hezbollah in the north.
Okay, Michael. Thank you, Michael Oren. Ambassador, we appreciate you coming on. 24 past the hour. We're watching the White House. We're watching Tel Aviv. We're waiting for the Secretary at CENTCOM. And